Hi everyone, this is part 5 of our conversation on the Kingdom Man, and you remember we've been reviewing the work of Dr. Pastor Tony Evans, the Kingdom Man. So we started from knowing what the concept of Kingdom Man is. We moved on to talk about how do we explore, how does it work to be a Kingdom Man, and how do we maintain it, because there's an authority for you to become a kingdom man, and so that authority, you need to maintain it. So we looked at how can you maintain the authority for you to become a kingdom man. So that then we moved ahead to talk about maintaining our territory, which was what we did last week. And so we ended our conversation with Psalm 128, which we said should be the mantra of every kingdom man. And so we're going to begin at the part 5 of this conversation again today, by reminding yourself of that a kingdom man's mantra. And so if you've not started meditating on it, it's an opportunity for you to meditate on it as you go into the weekend. And so we're going to be using Psalm 128, using the Message version. It says, "All you who fear God, how blessed are you? How happily you walk on a smooth, straight road. You worked hard and deserve all you have got coming, enjoying the blessing, soaking the goodness." And these are the blessings that's meant for the kingdom. And said, "Your wife will bear children as vine brand, as vine bears grape. Your household will lush as a vineyard. Your children are young, your table as fresh and as promising as young olive shoot. Stand in awe of God. Yes, oh, how He blesses the one who fears Him." So you go down. He talked about the peace that is upon us, even as men. And so I think looking at this for we as men, so this week, so we'll be talking about how we as kingdom men should live in our families, how we should live in our family. And that's the conversation we started. We've talked about, we said how do we live in the church? And last week we talked about you should be part of a church, either by praying, either by committing to it financially, or either by being in subgroup and supporting. So today is how do you live in your family, how you should live in your family as a kingdom man. And so, but first we need to establish that it's important. You need to know that for you as a man, it is your responsibility, your ultimate responsibility, to protect your domain. And it's critical that it is your responsibility to protect your domain. If you don't do that, like we gave the example of the lion the last time, things might go out the way that you don't want it. And one of the first ways, even before you get to that part of protecting your domain, is that you need to decide who you get married to. It's very important. So I am going to read from the book. Pastor Evans said, "A man's decision to marry a woman and begin a family is one of the most important decisions he will ever make." I will read it again. "A man's decision to marry a woman and begin a family is one of the most important decisions he will ever make." So the question is, do you think you made the right choice? But even if you didn't make the right choice, you have to live with it. You have to make it become the right one. And so for those of you that are listening that have not made a choice, then you know that it's important to do that. There's this saying that goes around. People say it, even I've seen it most times on the internet. People advising people that in life, one of the best choices you make for your children is the woman you marry. That's a gift you own to your unborn children. And so I continue what Pastor Evans says, although marriage frequently doesn't, it ought to come only under the condition of great thought and readiness. I have, he was sharing about his own family, people that have gotten married, but it was a decision. They had to work with their children. So even as a father, you have to work with your kids to see who they are getting married to. So it's very important, that. So marriage is no small thing and should not be entered into only when both parties are fully comprehended, and you know what you are going into, and you know the purpose, or you know the meaning of what you are getting yourself involved in. And so it's very important that you know that. You need to know what you are getting yourself involved in. And so, like I've said, one of the ways to keep your family, one of the ways to live in your family as a kingdom man is for that you know that it's your responsibility to protect your domain. So you can either lead them in your care to a place of safety, or you can drive those you care for to a place of chaos. But to rule well, It's not a call that you do one day and you forget about it. So it's a daily call. So that's why sometimes we struggle as men, and that's why we need to go back to the cross. Even speaking of myself, we struggle about this every day, because today you might do all pass, tomorrow situations around in your family or responses even from your family members may make you go the other way. So it's important that you know that it's a continuous journey. It's a continuous journey to the end. You need to live with your family in a way that every day you lead them towards that. And also remember that it's a covenant. It's a covenant. And so because it's a covenant, it's not contract. The people of the world see it as contract. People even answer a prenatal contract to say this, to say that, but that is not for we believers. It's important that you know that this is a covenant. So the kingdom principle that applies to marriage, is the foundation of a family. Is that we are to view and treat it not as contract, but as a covenant. And so the problem that arises in most marriages that we see now is because people are adopting the worldly culture of marriage. Just simply they mean, it's love and happiness, but marriage is much more than that. Some days you might not feel those happiness, you might not feel those love, but it's there. And so it's important that you know that. So as a covenant relationship, you know that you take every matter before God. So ruling is a lifelong skill that you need to forge. And how do you forge it? And so the way for you to live in your family is that you must forge the skill for you to rule. And remember, we've established that ruling is not commanding, it's not authoritarian, but it's sharing power with your family member, understanding that divine position that God has placed you. So there are two things that can really help you get there, and which I'm working on daily, is faithfulness and dedication. You have to, whatever you are doing, you have to take it serious. You have to be dedicated to your role as a husband. You have to be dedicated to your role as a father. You have to take it serious. Even your partner, your wife, your children, your family people, and people say, you're too serious with this thing. Yes, you don't have any other work. You have to be a serious father. When we mean serious, is that you need to be committed to it. Learn it every day until you perfect it. But seriousness is not harshness. Seriousness is not having time for fun or playing with your kids. No, that's not what we're saying. But you also have to be faithful. Faithful to it. And faithfulness is that even when it's not good, you still remain faithful. Even when it's not giving you the needed joy you want, you remain faithful. And so there was a story that was shared in the book that I'm going to end with for us to help us establish how we should live even in our family and keep working on it. So the story, and I think the story, we should all know it, or you can go with that. It's a well-known story about the Hudson River miracle. It's called the Hudson River miracle. And so there was an incident in the Hudson River. Hudson River is in New York City in the United States of America. So in 2009, so there was a pilot that landed a passenger plane that had over 159 persons on the river. It was just during the winter time. The heights, the whole water on the river was already frozen. It became ice, and so it was flying, and the engine shut down. And so what happened was that a bird flew into one of the engine of the plane and shut it down. And so it was obvious that the plane was to crash, but he successfully landed it on the ice. And so they asked him, it was a big fanfare then. There was news coverage of CNN covered the pilot, they interviewed him, and they've even made a lot of movie adapting the scenario in different kind of movie. And so one of the lessons that Pastor Evan shared in the Kingdom Man, and which is a lesson for us as Kingdom Men, is here's that it took the pilot years of preparation for him to take that. When they asked him why did he do that, he said he knew that the life of those 159 persons on that plane was in his hand, and so he never take it for granted, and that for many years has been practicing different scenarios. If this thing happens, that happens. So he took responsibility, and that was the key term he used. He took responsibility, and he was able to land that plane. I want you to read the story. It's fascinating because it did not just happen at that point. He has been preparing years and years of preparation. So when disaster came, he was able to save the people. So the question for you this episode is that when your feet hits the ground every day, do the devil say, this guy is up and he's ready. He's ready to fight again. He's ready to do, even when you make mistake, even when you're not right between your family, you own up to your responsibility. Are you preparing to save them? I really want you to go read up about the Hudson River miracle, about the pilot that landed that plane. You'll see each of the interviewing granted was about taking responsibility. He knew that the life of everyone on that plane was in his hand, and he never did that. And so for one of the ways we also can live in our family, beyond just preparing and knowing that the life of our wife, our children is in our hand, is for us to also know that we have a Savior. We have a Savior that is there to help us. And He's there to help us, to see us through to the end. We just need to know that we must rely on the power of God, because it's only the power of God that can help us do that. So as kingdom men, one of the greatest things we need to do or to offer our children is by modeling. And we said it when we started again, one of the ways you can live is that model what you want to see from your children, especially in this area or this generation that we have, the internet and all of these things, especially this generation that is always anti-God and everything. You really need to model. Let them see you as a father that is around the table that prays. Let them see you as a father that blesses his children. Let them see you as a father that you don't just live carelessly. Let them see you. You need to keep doing it right from when they are small. Keep showing them. You should not fail to lead your family. You must show them that example. You must, what you want them to believe, you must show them. And so a lot of us who benefited from that heritage of what our parents was able to leave for us. So the question is, what are you leaving for your children? And so the time you spend with your family should never be a second thought. When you close from work, you should not go and branch somewhere and say, let's go and have the meal time with the guys. No. Head back home straight. Always just to run back. Be home before your children sleep. I know you might be working in places you cannot get home, but try all through the week, 7 days in a week, should not be they're all sleeping before you get back home. That is not how you're modeling to them. You have to always be there. Let it always be a first thought. Create time, because the way the society is going and is going every day, the time might not be there. So that's how you live as a kingdom man in your family. Be there for them. Take responsibility for everything. Be prepared to save them. Be prepared to land the plane in a disaster. On an icy day, be prepared to get them to safety. Even be prepared to love their mother. And so one of the way you can also love your children, you can also live among them, is to love their mother. Let them see that sincerely, that you are there, you love their mother, you are sanctifying her with the word every day. There's an encouragement, you're supporting what she's doing. No matter how you are frustrated, no matter what's going on, just be there. Just be there. So the goal of the family then is for you to replicate the image of God. And that is how you need to live in your family. I hope you've been able to get one or two things here, but I think the key here is just preparation and knowing that it's a lifelong journey. You might be failing now, but don't worry, you will not fail tomorrow. You might be failing now, don't worry, you will not fail next tomorrow. You might be failing now, don't worry, you will not fail in the future. All you need to do is to hope on God, trust Him, and remember what we said in Psalm 128, that age should be your mantra. And the verse 3 says, your wife shall be like a fruitful vine within your house, your children like olive plant around your table. Behold, for thus shall the man be blessed who fear the Lord. So I think that last point is where I'm going to stop. The fear of the Lord is what will make all of this to happen. If you don't fear the Lord, then you can't see all of these things. So one of the key for you to live, even as a kingdom man in your family, is to fear the Lord, both in secret and in the open. When you fear Him, the Lord will cause your wife to be a fruitful vine within your household, your children, as holy plant. If you've been to a winery before where they produce wine, you really understand this. So just picture that is your home. That is what God is promising you, a beautiful on this vine that produces wine, and your children will be there like holy plant around your table. And so the key is for you to fear the Lord. So hopefully we'll end next week on how do you live in a community. I hope you've been blessed from our conversation around the kingdom man. And if you can, please get yourself a copy of the book. You'll be blessed that you did. Trust me, you will indeed be blessed. Check Amazon. You can find it on Amazon, and you can order it at e-copies of it. You can also get it and read. Study it and meditate on it, and God will bless you. Hope to see you again next week. Same over the weekend. We'll send the Friday. We'll send in the last part of this conversation. God bless you. And the Lord help all of us to become men that fear Him, so that our family will be blessed. like He has promised us, like this precious vine. Bye bye.